in the medical professions, there is too much emphasis on students. As a faculty member, I'm also guilty of that, that we tend to focus a lot on what to think versus how to think. And along with that, everybody knows how much standardization there is of medical systems that's occurring the world over. We talk about evidence-based medicine, and it makes sense. We need to have evidence for what we do in healthcare and biomedicine. We just don't want to be creative and innovative all the time. But what happens is that when we have this drive towards data all the time, although it's a good thing, it also tends to inhibit critical thinking, imagination, creativity, which in turn then inhibit innovation. So it's a catch-22. You want to have evidence to practice good medicine. At the same time, if you're too evidence or data-driven, you tend to inhibit creativity and innovation in biomedicine and healthcare. So what that leads to, although all this inhibition, it leads to this tunnel vision that we are in right now. And what I think we need to be looking at in the future, well, I guess the present is also part of the future right now, and so we try to move at least the students to start thinking and junior faculty to start thinking about this space, which I've called over here Biomedicine of Tomorrow, which has 3 characteristics. So it's non-hierarchical, it's transgenerational, and it's interdisciplinary. I know it's a mouthful, so I'll just kind of simplify that. So non-hierarchical. So Ingrid really set the stage for me. Thank you so much, Ingrid, because she was talking about the top-down versus the bottoms-up approach. So non-hierarchical, it doesn't matter whether you're junior or senior, whether you're a student or you're a teacher, you are there to learn. And you can learn in teams. And so the young and the old together, so that's transgenerational, and it's an interdisciplinary team. So medicine and biomedicine and healthcare need not be only the domain of physicians and nurses and the health professionals. It needs to be owned by people from IT, from business, and from other disciplines as well, as I will mention in the rest of my slides. So we came up with this platform called CCIT, for short, Critical Creative Innovative Thinking. And I'm not going to delve into mission and vision statements of our group. I will talk to you about the objectives of this group. And we have 3 main objectives that I'm happy to report over here that we've stuck to these 3 objectives for the past roughly 2.5 years that we've been functioning at AKU. The main objective of this platform was to offer a space for people to come and explore and express creative and innovative thoughts, ideas that were relevant to biomedicine and healthcare. Because we felt that people, be the younger folks like students or junior faculty or even senior faculty, whether they were from the medicine background or from the nursing background, just did not have an opportunity to share their ideas. And so this was one of the main things that we started off with. It's interesting that the more evidence-driven that you get, the less patient-centric you are. You're constantly pushing people towards protocol-driven medicine, and you move away from the patient. And so we used this platform to keep reminding people that you have to be patient-centric in medicine. You've got to put the patient at the center of your medical or nursing universe. Otherwise, you will keep doing things for yourself, and it's okay to do things for yourself, but really, you've got to keep the patient at the center of your medical universe. And so we started looking at patient-centric care as a creative and innovative platform in itself. And it's really interesting. I'm not going to delve into this too much. It ate up my 3rd objective. That's strange. The 3rd objective is to create change leaders, and I'm going to get into this a bit more in the next slide, so it's okay if it gets eaten up over here. But the crux is, like I mentioned in the last slide, that we're doing this in a non-hierarchical, transgenerational, and inter or multidisciplinary fashion. So we're not closing our doors to anyone, anybody who has an interest in human health and disease, because health and disease are not necessarily, you can be healthy, but it doesn't mean that there's lack of disease, and you can have disease, and so you've got to work on both. And so we have offered this platform to anybody who's interested in human health and disease, and you do not need to have a background in medicine for this. So our tagline is engaging future, and how are we doing this? So we have an organizational framework. I'm calling it an organization, but CCIT is not really an organization, okay? It's more like a mom and pop shop at AKU, and we like what we're doing, so we keep doing it. And so students are made to lead a lot of these subcommittees. There is a core committee, but then we have branches like social media, print media, so on and so forth. So we make the students who are really interested lead these subcommittees. And we get them to think critically by having some kind of objectivity to the ideas that are being submitted for, to our platform. So these are creative and innovative ideas, but you have to make sure that it is relevant to biomedicine and healthcare. So we give these students these kinds of matrices so that they can kind of evaluate the material. Yes, I did say earlier on that not everything has to be evidence-driven, but we still need to provide them a framework to think critically. And so they can come up with their own reasoning as to why a certain idea will work, and whereas others will not. So when you're doing things like students in your framework and student judges, you're on your way to creating change leaders. And this platform, Flowing Rivers Constant Change, ends up being really timely because what change leaders are doing is essentially they're changing themselves before they're going for changing outside. And that's my basic understanding of change leadership. I'm sure there are more technical definitions of change leadership, and there are experts who can guide me in this process as well. So, but I'm using a very simplified definition, working definition of change leaders over here. So these are students who are driving these initiatives. Okay, so the next few slides I'm going to talk about, I'm going to delve into biomedical creativity through our initiative. And so Romy mentioned Ignite, and he was one of Romy and Alia. Alia's here as well. And so they were part of our Ignite session, the first Ignite session that we had at AKU. Now we've gone to 5 Ignite sessions over the past two years. And so how many people are familiar with Ignite? I know Romy kind of touched upon it, but anybody knows what an Ignite talk is? No? Okay, yeah, some people do. So, so it's like a baby TED Talk, really. So you saw 2 versions of, 2 TED Talks earlier. And Ignite is different because you get 5 minutes to tell your story. I have been given more than 5 minutes, thanks, Romy, because and my slides are not timed, but those slides are timed. You do not have control over your slides. And so we got permission from Ignite O'Reilly, that's based in the US, and we started hosting these Ignite sessions at AKU. And Ignite's tagline is enlighten us but make it quick, and it's really appropriate. So rules for igniting, essentially, you've got 20 slides, 15 seconds each, auto-forwarding, and so you get a total of 5 minutes. So we've been doing this, and we've come up with a training or an educational program. So what we're doing is that over a 3 to 4 month period, we are training people to ignite. And so we start off with abstracts. People send us abstracts, their ideas in a written form. They're limited by words, so 250 words, they have to send us their idea. And we screen them. We select roughly around 10 of those ideas for an Ignite session. And then we take them through this 3-month period. So each month has just a single meeting. We do not have meetings all the time, just 3 face-to-face meetings. The rest of the work is on email. And so, like I said, critically reviewed and then selected abstracts, and the people are taken through this. We have 1 meeting, the 2nd meeting, and the 3rd meeting. And the 3rd meeting is really a rehearsal, so that in the AKU auditorium, people get an opportunity to present their 5-minute talks, and they are timed so that they're ready for the actual event. So it's really interesting that once we started going through Ignite sessions, we realized that we were being sent different kinds of ideas. They were either creative thoughts, for example, medicine and associated with astronomy, humor, or fashion. And so these were people who just connected things to medicine, biomedicine, or healthcare, and these were just really creative thoughts. And we gave them an opportunity to come and talk for 5 minutes about any of those topics, and these were actual presentations that were done. I wish I'd recorded a clip for you. Actually, it's on our Facebook page. So all of these are up there on a Facebook page. Second category was innovative proposals, and so we've had proposals like given to us based on emergency room efficiency, music therapy, child health literacy, and so on. And one or two of these proposals have actually been taken ahead, and research is being done on them. So it's not just a 5-minute talk, and it ends there. Some people, depending on their drive, have taken them forwards as well. And this third group is really interesting because people want to use the CCIT Ignite AKU platform to advocate. And it could be advocacy for patients, as I mentioned earlier, or it could be just community-based advocacy. People have spoken about child abuse, elder abuse, pharmacy, and the role of pharmacists in medicine. It's interesting, but there were pharmacists who were really upset that doctors and nurses don't give them enough importance. So we opened up this platform to people, and these are roughly the 3 categories in which we've been getting ideas. So our most recent Ignite was first week of November, this month only, right at the beginning of November, and we kept it subject specific. So it was on mind and brain. There was a mind and brain conference, huge conference at AKU, and this specific Ignite was only ideas that were delving into the mind and brain, so neurology, neurosurgery, psychiatry, psychology, philosophy even. And we had a great time running this Ignite. So I'm going to give you the overall stats of our, I'll just put it up there. So we've had 5 Ignite sessions. Through this, we've screened about 110 abstracts, and we've had 50 ignitions, which have included undergraduate medical students, undergraduate nursing students, postgraduate residents, fellows, faculty, research associates, even people from human resource at AKU and IT who've come and presented, as long as they've kept it relevant to biomedicine and healthcare. And why not? They're working in a teaching hospital or a university hospital setting, so they, IT and HR, can also come and talk about their ideas. And we've had several people who've presented their work from outside of AKU. And connectivity is great, and so we can have people igniting, we call it igniting from afar. So they're not in the AKU auditorium, but they can still present. Okay, I'm going to switch to the innovation aspect of what we've done, and Romy mentioned the hackathons, and that's essentially what we've started off at AKU. And we've looked at how many, I'm assuming that people know what a hackathon is over here, because there's anybody who doesn't know what a hackathon is, don't be shy, can raise your hand. Okay, so all right, so good, thank you for asking. Okay, so what a hackathon is a multidisciplinary platform, okay, and so it's meant to be problem solving in real time. You get people from different fields. So for example, if I'm talking about medical innovation, then you get people from IT, from business, from engineering and design aspects of things, and they can all come together and they can help solve medical problems in real time. So in 2 or 3 days, people actually come up with innovation. So it starts off with the problem pitch, and the problem pitch is meant to be very specific to a certain area of medicine or healthcare, and then teams form around that problem pitch, and over the next 2.5 days, they come up with actual innovations to solve those problems. And then at the end of that period, it's like a contest, really, and all teams, competing teams, present, and then a judges panel then selects the best ideas. So we lucked out, and MIT has an institute called Hacking Medicine. And I had the opportunity to go there and observe the Grand Hack, which was in April of this year. Another person from AKU, he's from IT. So 2 of us went to MIT to see the Grand Hack. We learned from them. And those guys actually then just shared a lot of their SOPs with us. And we did our first hackathon in mid-August of this year. And it was AKU's first medical hackathon. We kept the theme limited to, well, the theme was emergency medicine, really, and it was for the resource-limited emergency room. And I'll just quickly go over the objectives and what the outcomes were. This was just the cover of the hack book or the resource book that we drafted. The 2 main objectives were to come up with innovations for emergency rooms in Pakistan and keeping it very relevant for resource-limited emergency rooms. And secondly, we use this platform as an innovation in medical education, because this is totally different from having classroom-based teaching. People were learning from non-medical folks, and non-medical folks were learning from medical folks. So it was just a fabulous experience in medical education. The sponsors were people from AKU, so our CEO and the Dean of the Medical College sponsored the event. So we did not have to look outside of AKU. They were really excited about this. And in fact, they were so happy with what we'd done that they gave us a budget for the next hackathon. I'll talk to you about that briefly in a bit. So we had about 150 people participating, which included 80 hackers, 20 organizers, 20 mentors, and 6 judges. And Romy was one of our judges, and Alia is over here, and she was one of our mentors. And so it was a great experience, people from different backgrounds coming together and solving problems relevant to medicine. And 11 teams competed, like I mentioned earlier. There were 4 winners. I'm not going to go into the details of these winning teams, but these are really cool ideas. People had a lot of fun over there. It's just a totally different platform for AKU, for a medical college. Okay, so they approved the next hackathon, and it's, this is just a flyer for this, and if people are interested, please go on a website, we don't have a website, we have a Facebook page, and there's a registration form. If anybody is interested in design thinking and has expertise in IT, engineering, architecture, is an artist even, and wants to be part of this, please go ahead and register, and we'll be happy to include people from different fields, not just medicine. So what we're trying to do through this second hackathon is to come up with design for the next generation children's hospital at AKU. Oops, somebody didn't like what I said. Okay, that's right. And we've lucked out again, and Hacking Pediatrics from Boston Children's is a collaborator for this particular hackathon. So it's really interesting that people from the US, once they see what we're doing, they're willing to collaborate. We're not paying them, they're not paying us, and so it's a great collaboration, which doesn't really exist in the field of clinical research. I'm a clinical researcher by training. The reason I'm mentioning it over here is that this kind of platform, medical hackathons, is so out of the box, and it's good that you don't have very rigid processes right now, because it allows you to collaborate with people with minimal problems. Okay, next steps. So the next 3 slides, I'm just going to try to tie it up together and where we are moving this towards. So 2017, next year that is, and it's not too far from now, we need a dedicated budget. And we want to make this CCIT initiative a programmatic one. We need a budget so that we can have administrative support, which is dedicated to CCIT, capacity building of individuals in this group, and then other things like printing and having events, so on and so forth. Formalizing the process, we're really interested in having initiating a curriculum on creativity and innovation in biomedicine and healthcare for medical students, for nursing students, and so on. We want to develop metrics to evaluate multiple outcomes through this, and so to look at CCIT and its initiatives as a research program as well. And then it should become part of job portfolios, because I'm doing this kind of work, and it's not part of my JD. I am a clinical researcher, like I mentioned, and I do clinical work in the ER. So I'm delving into this completely outside of my job description, based out of AKU. And we also want to strengthen multidisciplinary linkages with incubators and accelerators in Karachi and outside of Karachi as well, because we don't have enough infrastructure at AKU for this particular group. So if people are interested and they want to partner, or they want to give us some, financial support, yes, I'm open to that as well. Long-term financial sustainability past 27, we would like to get to a stage where we can have actual courses and workshops that we can charge people and generate revenue through that. Some of these innovations might be scaled, and then we can generate revenue through that as well, and then like I mentioned, seeking sponsorships and grants for our thing. So going to the beyond bit, okay, so what I think CCIT is really getting into is inspiring the younger generation of healthcare professionals to think differently, think outside of the box. Okay, I know we keep saying thinking outside of the box, but what does it really mean? I don't know. I think it's just different alternative ways of looking at things. At the same time, we are also trying to create new opportunities to learn, because through any of these initiatives, it's allowing people to learn something new as well. And the 3-year roadmap is really to spread our initiatives to other AKU campuses, perhaps going to East Africa and doing an Ignite session over there, or having a hackathon over there. AKU also has an initiative in Kabul, in Afghanistan. And so we do a lot of blended learning with the people over there. And so why don't we help a hospital over there as well. And then to develop specs or metrics for critical, creative, innovative thinking, and that's what I'm getting into over here. This is my final slide. So what we're thinking right now is that we're kind of on a spectrum, okay? So we have a creative thought, and then we have an innovative thought, okay? So what comes first? Is it a creative thought that then becomes an innovative thought, and then you go on further? I don't know, but what we've demonstrated is that through Ignite sessions, we have managed to get people to think about creativity, about thinking about their own creativity. People have spoken about writing, about music, art and design, photography, and these are all people who are within the health professions. And when you go from an innovative thought to an innovation, then you're looking at apps, developing devices, simulation medicine I'm talking about over here, and improving processes in the hospital setting. And these are all considered innovations. When you need to scale an innovation, then we need to have very strong support of incubators and accelerators. We need to have very good business models and sustainability. So that's where the business folks can really help us out as well. Critical thinking is something that just cuts across, transcends any of this process, I think. And I want to mention that the budget goes up exponentially when you go from creativity to innovation. So if anybody wants to give us some money and wants to sponsor any of these initiatives, then I will not say no. And that's about it. So I want to acknowledge several young people. These folks have either just graduated, like 2015, that's last year's MBBS class. Currently, a bunch of them are just still students. And then we've got a lot of support from the AQ leadership as well. We are on Facebook and Twitter. You can look us up, CCIT Forum, and share your ideas with us. Thank you.